Hi there all and welcome to the Gold Oak Property Podcast. Here we'll be interviewing a multiple of people, talking about property stories, good and bad, and anything business related. I hope you take great knowledge and experience from these interviews and apply them in your own life. I myself am a deal packager in South Wales. We provide great properties for our investors, building their portfolios. If you're interested, please get in touch. My details will be below. Now I hope you enjoy these interviews and I'll see you soon. Hi there all, Sibren and Luke here. It's an absolute pleasure to be here again. Now Luke's kindly invited us to his new build apartments in
Gilvac, Bargoed.
Gilvac, Bargoed.
In the Caerphilly postcode.
Caerphilly, and they look absolutely incredible. Really delighted to be here. Luke's a giant in the property industry, taking on some really big stuff, so it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Luke thoroughly enjoys property and it is at the forefront of his to-do list, but he also has a enjoyable life outside of things. So Luke, first of all, if you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about your personal life, what you get up to outside of property.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Luke Rowlands. I'm from the Mountain Property Group. I've been involved in, I suppose, the construction industry now for over 10 years. I've been actively investing in property now for over 6 years. But property is not for the faint-hearted sometimes, so I do have my hobbies in the background to kind of keep me going. So I suppose what I like to do outside the property world is I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, so I love anything outdoors. I love hiking, so my main hobby is going hiking, especially on the weekends. I do a lot of wild camping as well, so especially this time of the year, it's great to be outdoors, get outside, and it's just a place for me to switch off. So that definitely helps me with my property journey going forward.
Yeah, I like it a lot, man. I didn't know you were an adrenaline junkie. Have you been any jumping off planes?
So yeah, I've jumped out of planes now 3 times. I've been in helicopters, I've done bungee jumps. So my next big goal for me on my personal side is to be qualified to jump out of a plane by myself. Nice. And then my long-term goal is to travel the world and pretty much jump around as many countries as I possibly can.
I like it.
So for me, that's how I switch off. Obviously, it's quite a dangerous hobby, but for me, I absolutely love it, and we'll continue doing it going forward.
I like it, man. It's going back to that sort of setting up a property company, getting that income in to utilise it and travel the world and do other things. And have the time to do that.
Yeah,
definitely. Which is, a main driver for a lot of people. And I like that and I appreciate it. I didn't know adrenaline junkie. Brilliant stuff. So we touched on Luke's personal life and he's an adrenaline junkie at heart. But he's a man who used to be on the tools, used to be a builder himself. So he knows the trade really well. So Luke, could you just bring us through how you started in property?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 28 now, 28 shortly. I've been, as mentioned earlier, I've been involved in property now for over 6 years. But for me, I never had the goal to get into property. So it came to me, I just kind of fell into the industry. So being the builder as I was back a few years ago, for me, I wanted to do large refurbishments. So I come along to property events, one specifically called PIN, which obviously you've been to in the past. And for me, that was a perfect position to be in as a builder because I was in a room full of property investors and developers. It took me a few months to get some clients. You've got to get recognised, you've got to get your face known. But gradually over the years, I had my first 3-bedroom flip, which was actually in Bargoed, where I was only down the road from here.
Nice.
After that project, I got passed on a HMO, so a 5-bed HMO to refurbish in Swansea. That turned into a 6-bed, turned to an 8-bed. The biggest I'd done was a 9-bed. And then casually that kind of fell into commercial to residential conversions. But back then I was working for clients. So for me, I was getting paid for it, not getting the income or the profit after doing that deal. So with my clients being investors and developers themselves, it got me very interested in how they do things. And I suppose having my background as a builder, it was a great opportunity for myself to get into property. Because most investors and developers, they don't have the experience in the refurbishment side of property. And for most people, it could be the hardest part. Because as we all know, trying to find builders and good tradespeople, that's a job alone, and it can be very tough and stressful at times. So a way I suppose leveraged myself again in property is because I was 21 at the time. I had no money, no experience, no confidence, and being 21, no one really took me serious. So I knew I had to leverage my skill set being a builder. So I worked with investors and developers as a joint venture to get me started in property. So move on a couple of years. We've had multiple joint venture partners now. I'm in a position now where I don't need to work with them, so my projects going forward will be my own personal ones.
Nice.
Yes, I'm still open to joint ventures. It's always good with people, especially with different skill sets. For myself, it was all about leveraging other people's, not just time, but money as well. Being 21, most people don't have money.
No.
But then if you work with people who do have money, so for example, they put the money in, I put the time in, join them two together, typically 50-50 split. It works well for both parties.
Okay. So would that be a typical 50-50 split on the profits?
50-50 split on the profit.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example on this deal, if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So the deal we're in now is a commercial to residential conversion. This has been going on now for the past 3 years. It took a year prior to that to negotiate the deal. So being my background, I decided to be quite hands-on with this project. Not hands-on to the point where I was on site on the tools, but my role was site manager. So I was on site nearly every day, managing multiple people throughout the week. I think the most people I counted on site at once was around 30 people. So you can imagine it was quite a busy site at the time.
Hectic.
It was hectic. And it was stressful at times, not going to lie. But this was a great opportunity for me to step off the tools.
Yeah.
So I've only been off the tools for just over 2 years. So as soon as this project came along, I decided, you know what, I'll step in, I'll manage it for myself. But I was tied into this project for 2 years.
Transitioning over from the tools to the development side, project managing the teams, the refurb in that, there would have been moments in the past where he would have had to build up sort of an income to be able to step away from the tools, and have that sort of coverage from the money coming in. Now, we just want to briefly talk about sort of in the past what you've done, first of all, to create that pool and that safety net for you to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, sure. So the biggest concern I see with property investors and developers, they want to jump straight into development. And the problem is you shouldn't do that because it can tie up years and years of your time and you can potentially lose a lot of money. So I think for anyone starting in property, specifically myself, I started off small. So my very first deal was actually embargoed, as mentioned, down the road, and that was a joint venture flip. So I pretty much put my labour in, we got investment in to fund the materials, and we sold that on for a profit. But my end goal was to kind of step off the tools. So for me to do development of such projects like this, I knew I needed an income. So for me, I needed to be around people who are actively invested in property and experienced. So I kind of learned and leveraged off them. But on top of that, I knew I needed some education. So I've done various courses throughout the years. I've done mastermind courses, etc. But for me, it was confidence. I was lacking on confidence. So I knew I needed to grow as a person to be able to grow my property portfolio. So back a few years ago, I knew I needed income to be able to step off the tools. And the best way for me at the time were HMOs. So I already knew a little bit about HMOs. I've refurbished quite a lot with it during the years. And I've seen the potential, the income you get from HMOs. So I now have my portfolio of HMOs in Swansea, but it was a challenge building that up. So I was working effectively full-time for investors refurbishing their HMOs, doing your 8 till 5 o'clock. But then after that, I was working on my own projects. So I'll be working on their HMOs in the day, in the evenings and the weekends, I'll be refurbishing my own HMOs. And the benefit of me doing it myself is obviously I could save costs doing that. But long term, it's just not viable.
No.
If you want to do multiple projects, you can't work on them all. So the first couple I refurbished myself. There was a lot of labour intense going into that. Then when we come to our last couple of HMOs, then we just completely outsource them to builders. Obviously, we know how much things cost. We know builders not to rip us off, because if they just overprice, then no, we're just simply not using them. Going back to the HMOs, is I've got my full income now coming through HMOs, happily live off that. And that is what brought me to do such developments. So obviously, typically when you're doing developments, is you don't really see pay until the last sale. So it can be years down the line. So this has been going on for 3 years now, this development. And in theory, we haven't seen a penny out of it.
No, I know.
So this, I suppose, phase 2 of the development, the 8 flats, 5 are sold, we've got 3 more, which could be a couple more weeks down the line. That's where we're going to start seeing the profit.
That's mad. So out of 3 whole years, all that work, you don't see any of the profit till the last sale of the properties, which is crazy, but that's where the money's made,
But my priority is I work with a lot of investors. So I never fund any of my deals. It's all privately invested. My number one priority is to be able to pay them back with interest. So for me, it's taking the risk. Don't get me wrong, I might walk out with no profit. It's not going to happen.
No.
But worst case scenario, I'd rather give my profit in paying back my investors. Because property is a business, it's a people's business, and it's all about building relationships. And the investors I have on board, I want to continually use them for my developments going forward.
Definitely.
And the loan amounts you see on this typical size is quite large. So those are the investors you want to try and keep happy and continue using them in the future.
For more developments.
Exactly.
So initially when you were starting your own HMOs, was it the similar sort of JV finance and then splitting the profits once it was sort of done to a point? Or was there refinancing involved? Or
so we've got 8 HMOs now. I'm happy to say how many we've got. Our first one was a rent-to-rent. So that's an 8-bedroom HMO. We've had that now for the past 4 years. We just signed another lease agreement for the next 5 years. So he's happy just to give that to us. We make about £1,600 a month of that one profit from the property we don't even own. Whilst the other 7, we own 4 of them outright, and the other 3 are on a purchase lease option.
Okay.
So we've got that over 5 years, and we need to purchase that within the next 2 years.
Okay, so it's coming to the time of thinking.
So some of those HMOs, we've got joint venture partners, while some of them we own within our own company. But going forward, we've got enough HMOs to support ourselves, and I will continue to do development.
Yeah, I like it. I just want to touch one thing on the first HMO.
Yes.
Where it's been a rent-to-rent.
Yeah.
What did you do to it to create the sort of the revenue stream to have the profit there? Do you know what I mean?
So initially the landlord who owns the property, he tried to get student tenants in there, but it's very run down and he was struggling. And he just missed the end of the year where students typically move in. So he just lost all faith in the property. He didn't want anything to do with it. So back then I'd done the work myself, so I saved a lot of labour, and all we've pretty much done is replaced a few of the carpets. We give it a paint throughout, and just some furniture. So it only cost us about £3,000 to refurbish this property, which we made back in 2 months.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and this was 4 years ago.
Oh man.
So that was a very good deal. Obviously, we don't own the property.
No.
But for me, it's hands off. I don't manage any of my tenants. Ask me the names of them. I have no idea. I'm not interested in the names. I just look at the monthly statements that come in, check to see if we've got any voids, check to see if everything's all okay, the properties. And then we just do 6 monthly inspections on a HMOs to make sure they're okay.
Okay. I like that a lot. Obviously, that stemmed from a lot of education, a lot of time and money spent on trying to build up that knowledge to do that. So it's doable, we know it is, but there is education, and it's not just something that you done the next day. But I just want to stress the importance of education, finding the right people, surrounding yourself with them, and you will get there. You can do this. Luke's a prime example of of crazy stuff happening in property. But yeah, just, you know, take the time, learn the stuff, specialise, niche into a niche. You know, we've heard all those comments before, but it is true. Brilliant. We've touched on Luke's past, we've touched on Luke's future, but now let's talk about the present. This property that we're in right now, I'll get some videos and get some footage around and show you exactly what it looks like. It looks fabulous. Should we talk about how you managed to find this property, what sort of the method took, and sort of how the pricing looked like?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I suppose this specific project we're in now, it's got a bit of everything. So it's a mix between commercial to residential as well as new builds. And the nature of this build, we split it down in 3 different phases. The reason behind that is because it's quite a complicated build to do with the area and the shape of it. So initially, this had planned permission to demolish the whole building and build 2 rows of terraced houses. Now the issue is, when you based your figures on that, it just didn't stack up. So this was in auction. This was, it had an original guide price of 350,000. So again, quite cheap.
Yeah.
But when you bought it for that much, basic figures, it just didn't stack up completely. So no one were interested in the deal. So it didn't sell auction first time. It went back in auction again for 250,000. Guess what? It didn't sell again.
Really?
So after the 3rd time then, we actually approached the vendor directly, but we purchased it on auction terms. So we didn't factor the auctioneer out. We still paid him the fee. We still did it on the same terms. And we managed to secure this whole site for 170,000, which, if you can see the size on it,
Yes.
and sometimes pictures or videos don't do any justice, until you actually come here in person, it's a very large site. So it's nearly an acre of land. And so splitting it down in phases. So the first phase was an old doctor surgery. That's now been converted into 3 2-bedroom houses. That's done, sold. They've been living in them now for over 12 months. Phase 2, which we've recently completed, it's 2 stories. So on the ground floor was an old factory. They used to repair mobility scooters and stair lifts. What's on the top floor was offices. So I think there were around 15 office rooms, something like that. This has now been converted into 8 unique luxury flats. So the size on these properties are very spacious. It's very unique to the area. And we've gone well above and beyond the ceiling price of what you can get within, I suppose, the Gilvac postcode.
Yeah.
And then phase 3 then, it was an old doctor surgery, so kind of a prefab timber building. The state it was in, it was technically falling down. So of course, we had to demolish the whole thing. So that was demolished about 12 months ago now. We're waiting to go through planning. We know what we can get, but we're fighting to try and get a little bit more. So we're fighting to get 4 new builds. We know we can get 2, but 2 for us is not viable.
No.
And the area is just too big for two new builds. So we're willing to fight, spend a little bit more time and money to get the 4 new builds. So we're hoping to get some advice, or we're hoping to get planning granted within the next couple of months on this one.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention that this specific project is an award-winning development.
Okay.
So
Wow.
we won an award back last year for the best commercial to residential conversion within Wales. So that was a real honour seeing that.
Yeah. I can tell by the, you know, everything. It's quite unique property. You know, it's got a bit of character.
Yes.
I can see why that's one, and it's a great build, you know.
And it's come with its challenges.
Yeah.
You know, it hasn't been an easy build.
Yeah.
So for example, going back to phase 1, we started that at the peaks of COVID. So at the time, as most of us will know, materials were going up on a monthly basis. So what we would spend on the refurb was going up and up and up and up. So it got a bit concerning, but at the same time, the value of the properties were going up. So as an example, one of the houses initially got valued at 120,000. By the time we'd done the refurb, it gained an extra 20,000. So when you add that over 3 houses, it paid for the materials.
Yeah, paid for that adjustment in cost.
It worked out better for us.
Yeah.
We had enough. So it was at the peak of the time where property was going
Yeah,
sky
that
high.
crazy time.
Now you've seen it level it out, starting to go creep down slightly. So although the refurb cost us more, the GDV made up for it.
Yeah. I like it, man. I think that was a crazy time, you know, crazy
Very
period.
crazy.
And everything that just went on there, like.
Yeah.
But no, I really like it. If we could just touch on some brief numbers of everything, I would love that for everyone.
Yeah, so we purchased this property via someone's pension. So we used a SAS pension to purchase it for 170,000. But the benefit of this is we negotiated an EDC.
Okay.
So that's exchange delayed completion.
Yeah.
So that was over 6 months. The reason why we done that is when we purchased it, it had outline planning permission to demolish the whole building and build 2 rows of terrace houses. But as mentioned earlier, it just didn't stack. So during that 6 months, we split the property down to 3 phases and we resubmitted planning permission. So we was confident in this because we already had our initial chats with the planning department and the council, and they would rather see us convert the building rather than knock it down. So we was very confident we could get planning permission. Now don't get me wrong, there's a risk in doing an EDC because once you exchange, you're committed to buy that. So we only put down a 5% deposit, and then after the 6 months then we paid the remaining amount.
Okay.
So purchase price 170. So I'll split it down into phases. So phase 1, the GDV on that is 455,000. That's the 3 houses. Phase 2, what we're in now, this is 8 flats. The GDV on this is 955,000. And then for phase 3, depending on how many new builds we can get, let's say 4, the GDV on that would be 960,000. So what's that? And then GDV of around 2.1 million, something like that.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
It really is cracking. Obviously, there's refurb costs in there and everything else. But from a 175 original purchase price, you know, to that, crazy job. But absolutely, you know, stupendous.
And there's no expense spared here, so we have gone above and beyond on the spec of this place. You know, what flats do you see with 3-metre ceilings? You know, originally they're 3.3 metres, but when you look at the whole property, all the ceilings have been brought down, the walls have been brought in, so everything's hidden. There's mammoth amount of insulation in the property.
I can feel it now.
So it's a nice day like this. This property, it just holds the heat. So what we've noticed from phase 1, we've got electric heating everywhere, but the amount of insulation within the property, they put the heating on for 20-30 minutes.
That's it.
That's fine for the rest of the day. So obviously with the EPC ratings as they are now, you need to get to that C. Fortunately, some higher for the Help to Buy schemes and stuff. I'm not going to go into detail about that because that's another discussion.
That's another old video, is it?
But there's no expense spared in this, so we've gone to the highest quality. We've broken the ceiling price within the area because we know there's a demand for that. We want to be well known for giving good quality homes. And this is kind of the spec we will continue using going forward. But I suppose my long-term goal, which I could talk about shortly, is to do bigger and better, more executive kind of homes going forward in the future.
No, I like it. I think what you created here is an absolute win-win-win situation for everyone. You know, the original vendor's happy, the new tenants are happy, they're going to have lower energy bills because of the insulation. You know, it's not going to cost much to heat up their homes. So there's that factor in it. You know, astonishingly looking homes, and then obviously you'll get paid for the great work that you've done. So this is an astonishing building. Really is fabulous, and I appreciate being here. Thanks for letting me come round. And you've been a great speaker. As this man, you know, has been through relentless amounts of PIN meetings, so he knows how to talk. But yeah, really top bloke. Thanks for coming. Do you want to touch a little bit about how people can reach out to you and sort of get in touch if they need to?
Yeah, sure. So I try and be as active as I can on social media. So you can either reach out to me personally just by going to my name on Facebook or Instagram, Luke Rowlands, or I'm trying to post more content within my experience of development. So feel free to look up on Facebook and Instagram, Mountain Property Group is a page where I'm going to try and focus my more time on going forwards. So yeah, feel free to reach out on social media. If you do want to see or learn more from myself, I'm getting back on the speaker circuit. So back last year, I spoke at around 25, not just PIN, but property network meetings in total. So now I'm going back on the circuit from next month. My next talk is actually in Edinburgh, so you are in Edinburgh. I'll be doing a talk all about development, specifically commercial to residential conversions. So yeah, I've got about 13 booked on so far this year, and it's all around the country. So if you can't see myself in Cardiff, and you are in various places around the country, feel free to reach out, and I'll probably be in a city near you soon.
Okay, love that. And in terms of the services you provide, apart from the development, you know, do you want to touch on that quickly?
Yeah, sure. So one of my main focuses now is refurbishment consultancy. So one of the big hurdles I see investors have with their refurbishment, with their projects, is dealing with refurbishments. So this is where I can step in and help you on a one-to-one basis, and it's specific to one property. So whether that's your standard buy-to-let, it could be 3, 4, 5 bedroom, or if you want to do something more on a larger scale, like this specific project. So if you want to do more commercial to residential conversions, I can help you throughout the whole process of that build, or anything down to estimates. So if you don't own the property yet and you're just going on a viewing with an agent, if you want to know how much it's going to cost you to refurbish that property, I can help with that, and I can also give you advice on how to best structure that property.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very difficult task of trying to work out, you know, when you're starting out, how much is this going to cost me?
Exactly.
You know, that's a massive part of it, working out the end value, working out the refurb. So no, that's a great service. I reckon it'd be absolutely brilliant. I'll put everything in the description below to get in contact with Luke himself. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Awesome.